I'd love to know like your relationship with money and how it's changed.
How long do we got? I always had the mentality that I'm going to earn money and I'm going to spend it. Oh, you know, we're in Saint Tropez and woo! It was this beautiful big handbag. I'm pretty sure I spent the whole paycheck on it. And my dad, he rang me and said, what the fuck is Celine? As much as you love someone, the things can go wrong. Very much got the mindset of, I will never, ever, ever rely on a man, and don't do stupid shit on Sharesies like I have, and you'll be fine. Well, one day I got a call, hi Polly, and he's like, it's going to be bigger than Tesla. It's huge. Since that day, it is now worth, I'm pretty sure it's...
Do you know what is very exciting? This podcast is empowered and sponsored by the wonderful team at Fresh Start, which is by My Food Bag. These are nutritionist approved meals, and you have like 20 plus meals to choose from every single week. So Fresh Start is something that I feel quite passionate about as someone who, in all honesty, really struggles to juggle work and life and trying to exercise and eat healthy. Fresh Start is such an amazing alternative that is cost effective. It's beautiful whole foods. So the one that I've been doing since I've been in New Zealand is 5 nights, which is the highest option. That's for 4 people, which is only $239.99, which is $12 New Zealand a plate. I mean, honestly, try to go to New World or Faro and spend that little on quality food. Fresh Start have given the Curve community up to $168 off 3 weeks if you use the code CURVEWEEKLY. So that's 50% off your first delivery and 10% off your second and then 10% off your third. I mean, sorry, you can't say we don't look after you. So if you want to take advantage of that, it's CURVEWEEKLY is the code, and we'll put a little link in the podcast show notes.
Oh my goodness. I have been looking forward to this podcast for so long, and I'm really nervous.
Why are you nervous? It's like your best friend.
I know, that's why I'm so nervous.
You couldn't interview someone you don't
bring your child to work day and they actually see what you do for a job, and it's, yeah, this is what we do.
It's a hell of a setup.
Yeah. Okay, I know. No, we try our best. No, we have Polly Markus, aka Miss Polly's Kitchen, in our
New
studio.
Zealand celebrity chef,
Yeah.
really. God.
Honestly, I feel honoured.
Same.
Yeah.
I mean, this is also 2.0. We have tried this once before. We had a few technicals and then we couldn't put the podcast out. So we've had a trial run.
It
How
was
long
such a good
ago
one.
was that?
Like 2 years ago.
We've got way more to
Shit.
talk about now anyway.
I actually agree. I feel like because at the time you weren't full-time with Miss Polly's Kitchen.
No.
And there was kind of a bit of a awkward what you could and couldn't say. And you definitely weren't ready to give up real estate at that point.
No, you're right.
It was still like, I'm trying to do this thing and start this business, but I'm also really holding on to my like ex-boyfriend that I might want to run back to. Do you know what I mean? You know, when you break up with someone, you're like, they're my backstop.
I don't want to let go. And then
Like, but he could change.
I'll just keep stalking him. Oh, he looks good now. Oh,
So there's a lot that's happened over the last few years. You were full-time, like in a completely different job.
Yeah.
Can you, for anyone that doesn't know, you know, Miss Polly, pre-Miss Polly, what was your life like at the time? What were you doing for work?
So pre-lockdown, I was a full-time commercial real estate agent at Bailey's. So that basically meant that I was leasing office space, and I was there all up, I think this would be my 9th year, even though I'm sort of on the longest sabbatical known to mankind.
Are you still on a sabbatical?
Yeah.
You are really...
oh my God, you haven't cut the ties with the ex-boyfriend.
No, but you know, I've given myself, that's the end of the financial year, and then they've said to me like, hey, baby, what's going on?
Are you coming back to bed or
But
what?
it's quite good. I just, you know, sometimes I get tenants, I refer the deal and I clip the ticket, you know.
Why
still a hustler.
are you still holding on?
So real estate was, for me, it was I came back from doing the boats and I started in commercial. The only reason I did commercial is because you didn't have to work weekends. I'd done real estate before. But
and why did you not want to work weekends, Paul?
I was a party gal. My priorities.
That was like me with tennis. I used to play interclub tennis. And then as I got older, every game was on a Sunday morning. And I was like, nah, absolutely not. So I could have been like Serena Williams, but my social life got in the way.
But so real estate Yeah, well, so I'd done it straight out of school as on a PA sort of side, sales, like looking at the sales agent side, and then came home. I didn't know anything about commercial real estate. I didn't know what a yield was. I didn't know what square meter, like I didn't know anything. But the fact that you didn't work weekends sounded fab. So I did that for years, and then in lockdown, obviously no one's looking for an office. So it sort of quite quickly changed. But I guess for me, it was once I learned how to do it, it took me 2 years of earning basically no money. I went straight commission from the start. So I didn't want to have a base, sort of a small base salary that could get you through. I thought just put a Bunsen burner under my ass and I'll work really hard.
Did anyone give you that advice?
I remember Mike Bailey, he's an absolute legend. He sort of said like you could, if you know, the sooner you just go commission only, the more you sort of like
the mindset changes.
I need to put food on the table for all my kids.
And you've literally done that.
I
You're
need
now
to buy
putting
the vodka for the weekend, so it will make you work really hard. So I think it was the best thing. At the time I was staying in my family home, so I wasn't paying rent. So I was sort of 26, so it did make a big difference that I could live off sort of next to nothing for a couple of years. But when I finally got it, it was like, you know, it's a really addictive job because you don't have a ceiling above your head. Like I could never imagine going to a job now where they say this is your salary and this is what you earn forever. Maybe you'll get a bonus, maybe you won't. Like I don't think I would never go back to a salary job ever again.
Well, it's not as motivating, right?
No.
Like if you work hard and you get rewarded for it, for people who are like a dog with a bone, like you and like me, to be honest, all of us, if someone said the sky's the limit with how much you can earn, I'd be like, fob off the social life. Like I would get to the point where I was so addicted to it that I would just be.
Which in itself is unhealthy.
Yeah, I know, but it's also really, I think I would find it kind of demotivating to be like, this is the amount that I can earn next year. This is the amount. Because so then how hard you work has nothing to do with what you're remunerated.
No, and I feel like that. And to go back to your, sorry, that was a really long-winded way of answering the question. Why I haven't given up real estate is once I was doing it and I was doing well, then I started Miss Polly's Kitchen, and after about a year, when that started making money, I then had two incomes that were, you know, one was really good and one was getting good. And so to give up, it's taken me a long time to just let real estate go because it was a safety blanket. It's a massive part of my identity and I was good at it, to then transition to a job where I'm still creating. I don't even know what Miss Polly's Kitchen as a job is. When people ask me, I'm like, but you know, it works. But going from something where you measure your success on how much you're earning, you turn up, you know, every day what you have to do is very different to now working in a job where you sort of I'm still creating what Miss Polly's Kitchen actually is. Like, what is that empire going to look like? Shove it, Nigella, we're coming in.
I totally understand. Like hearing you say it like that, I'm like, I fully get it. You're letting go of something that took you a long time to build, and also that's very financially lucrative.
And just such different skill sets as well.
Yeah.
You know, like at the end of the day, it's kind of sales probably crosses both, but like, and having like that real relationship building network quality which you have.
Yeah.
But like what would be the thing then that would make you be like, right, okay, Miss Polly's Kitchen is getting my full undivided attention? Like what is that trigger for you? Is it a certain level of income in Miss Polly's Kitchen? Is it a certain milestone? Will it ever happen?
Yeah, well I think, look, but at the end of this financial year I will have to sort of sever ties with Bailey's.
So in a month.
In a month, yeah. I have to have that conversation. They know it's coming. I know it's coming. But for me, it was like they got to a point where I was working so hard in real estate. I would come home, I was cooking, I was filming, I was editing, and then I was working on the weekend, and I had all this money coming in. But I was like, this is horrific. Like I am so burnt out. But, you know, I was like, I can't do this. And I'm a perfectionist. So when I was feeling like I couldn't do Miss Polly's Kitchen as well as I wanted to, because I didn't have the time, I was getting really gutted and sad and like, shit, I'm not doing a good job. And so I had a conversation with Mike Bailey, and it was when I had my second book deal. And he said to me, if I told you I didn't want you to work on Miss Polly's Kitchen anymore, how would you feel? And I said, I'd be really, really sad. And he said, that's your answer. He said, then you need to leave Bailey's.
Oh, that makes me feel really emotional.
Yeah, but he was like, real estate is there always.
It would always be there.
What
So
a
he
beautiful
was like,
man though, because sometimes you need someone to give you perspective. The same thing happened to me when I was in radio. I don't know why I feel emotional about that, but it sounds like he really cares about you. And I think that to have a boss like that is really special.
Not someone who's like, well, you're here or you're gone, like not someone that's just thinking about themselves and their own business. Because they could pay you more, they could give you more commission. You'd probably stick around for another 6 months. But if at the end of the day, your passion is Miss Polly's Kitchen, there's only so much you can pay someone to incentivize them to stay.
And I think as well in this whole world of social media, which I'm still very much navigating every day, I need to make hay that, it's right now I think I'm current, but while I'm current and while Instagram is flying and all of those things, like make it work, because it might not be like that in 10 years. So then real estate, which has always been great, will be there. I mean, so I feel like I'm at the stage where also I've always loved the corporate world. I love, this is interesting to say, obviously, but I love working with men. I think commercial, I was pretty much in our team. I was the only girl for a long time. We dealt with landlords predominantly, they're all men. And I found that the team environment I was in, I love the fact that it's matter of fact, you call a spade, there's no bullshit. If you make a mistake, someone will tell you and they move on. No one's dwelling about it. And I remember there was a different part of the business that was more female dominated. And I remember going to lunch with one of the girls and she was talking about like sometimes, like the bitchiness or she felt like her boss, and I remember thinking like, God, I don't miss that. And I'm not saying that there's a right or a wrong, but I think for me, I really thrived and I had a different perspective to all the men. So in a team, I was like the standout. I was the female. So it was great. And I really played that to my advantage. And now that I haven't been there for about a year and a half, I think the thought of going back into the corporate world for the first time really scares me, because I'm like, oh, my life has changed and I've changed probably and I've evolved. And so maybe the thought of going out for all these long boozy lunches and things and what it used to be like, it just doesn't feel like my MO at the moment. And so it wouldn't feel right going back and sort of doing that. So I guess Miss Polly's Kitchen does feel right for now.
How does it feel? Like, I guess you kind of had an element of it, but like the unpredictability of what income is going to come in the next week and the next month. And, like you kind of had that with commercial real estate to an extent, but like that's the scary thing for a lot of people when you're self-employed or you're going from being employed to self-employed is, oh my goodness, like I'm the master of my own destiny here.
I also think further to that is there's a real misconception around like influencer money and it being easy.
Yeah.
And sorry to use the word influencer, but it's, essentially being a content creator, whatever you want to say. I mean, technically, I guess
you do a few posts and you get paid for it. It's like, no, they don't see the behind the scenes.
But like, you also don't have the same level of control that you did in real estate where you work hard, you get. So can you just shed some light on that?
It's really hard. Like there is times where I will, and with food, you create a recipe for a brand and in your head, you know what it's going to be like. You've cooked it before, you test cook it and then you're filming it. And I can sometimes, in my head, I'll be like, I could pump out 3 different things today or 2. I will still be there at 3:00 in the afternoon lying on the floor trying to photograph it. And for the life of me, it's not working. And I basically have to throw it in the bin and reshoot it. And it's probably also part of the creativity side of it, which I struggle with because I am creative and I'm creative with food, but I'm not, you're trying to wear all the hats. But, as this influencer, you're merging the videos, you're being the photographer, you're being the food stylist, where it's like, then you're being the talent. And so it's like you're trying to do all of these things and sometimes you're not good at all of them. So it can be really challenging. And I think you have to, there is brands that, of course, you do work with, well, I work with that can't pay as much as another person. But if I love what they do and I love their brand and I love their food, your prices are sort of, they can vary. I've always, for every ad you see, there is a lot that you say no to. And I think it's important for people to know that because it's funny. People sometimes will say, oh, she's doing a lot of ads. And you think, well, hold on a minute. You're also getting a lot of free recipes and content on Instagram. So I remember when a friend said that to me who works or does a lot of, and I thought, you're right. Like you are getting free recipes every single week. And if I'm doing an ad here and there, that's my business, that's me, and I'm supporting a business that I believe in and a product like with food and anything that I I'm using, it's because I will eat it and I like it.
And it's also like the ads allow you to keep doing the free content.
Yeah.
Do you know, like it's the same with podcasting. Like our ads allow us to do this so that everyone can listen for free and learn and be educated. And it's, yes, you might not like the ad in the podcast and you might want to skip through it, or like, but it's kind of comes with the territory. I don't know. But
I think people don't understand that. And I think when they hear, when people start to hear it, it's like, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But I guess
Netflix introducing ads. I'm like, hell no. I'm like, absolutely not. I pay for this. Like it's a bit different. But how would you, just on what you said about, taking some jobs and not taking others and stuff, like how do you navigate brands or partners that pretty much devalue what you do? How do you navigate that? Like say you got one deal for, I don't know, let's make up numbers, 5,000 and the other for like 500. And like, how do you have those conversations or know what to charge yourself out at, especially like the bigger you get?
Yeah. Well, I still don't have a manager because when I first started, I thought if I can't negotiate a contract as a real estate agent, there is something wrong with me. But I am at the stage where it's like it would be helpful to, to have someone, because I'm just always to bounce ideas off at least. But I think you sort of get a gauge from talking to people in the market what some people charge and what is the sort of going rate for certain things. Obviously the bigger the international brand, they're probably always going to have more budget than the local smaller brand. So I think it really comes down to working out how you can still, if you really like someone that doesn't have a lot of budget, how do you incorporate that into still being able to talk about them because you really like their product without necessarily just devaluing or I think there are ways around it, but it is hard. And I think there are times where I've had, there's been a bit of money on the table and I just thought I wouldn't eat, like I would love to be able to say yes to this product, but I don't need it. And if I started posting about that, people would be like, you're a sellout.
There's such a fine line, I think, and that's the same for us. Like we're pretty brutal with the brands that we do and don't work with, and I think it's just because I think the role of an influencer, what people think of an influencer, has changed so much. What used to be just like beautiful photos has turned into it's your whole personality. You give everything to your brand, and you definitely do that through your videos and through everything that you do. It's not just as simple as like, here's my recipe. It's Polly as a person as well. And I think for us, podcasting, it's such an intimate form of media, right? It's not just our faces, it's actually who we are. And so if you were jumping from Nespresso to Nescafe, your audience is also like, that's really disingenuous. So you have to really navigate like what is true to me as a person and as a brand, because also that's what translates to being successful for a brand you work with, because you also want people to then want to work with you again. And your audience or people that follow you aren't going to go and buy Tabasco if you're always talking about something that's a complete competitor. It's a fine balance. I'd love to know like your relationship with money and how it's changed.
How long do we got?
And I guess like the reason I'm bringing this up is that you've spoken about 2 jobs that you had. Like briefly you mentioned the yachts, which for anyone that doesn't know is working on super yachts for like billionaires, and you get tips that are spare change for them, but it's sometimes 50 grand, So, and then you've worked in real estate where, there is no ceiling with how much you can earn. And obviously you've shifted to Miss Polly's Kitchen, which is now not just your passion product, it's also, of course, your livelihood, but that is a work in progress. You're building a business. How has your relationship to money changed from 2 very high-paying jobs where you had a lot of disposable income to where you are now? Has it had to change at all or not? Like,
I mean, I must admit, I came round in the weekend and saw your wardrobe. I don't think it's changed much in terms of
I'm like looking at your totem
the
belt,
lifestyle creep is still creeping.
Same. I actually saw a business advisor at the start of the year and he said the main thing you need to sort out is your financial health, your money habits. I was like, yes, you're right. Look, when I did the boats, I always had the mentality that it was meant to be for 6 months. So I was like, I'm going to earn money and I'm going to spend it like a mad woman because this is so cool. I'm living halfway across the world and I don't have one thing to pay for. So yes, there's smart people that save their money and come home and buy a house. And then there's Polly who was like, I want to go to the best hotel and I'm going to blow my money. Like, how fast can we spend it? So,
Oh my God, I wish I'd known you then. I just feel like you would have been this erratic kind of
It was nuts.
Yeah.
What was the most outrageous thing you bought during that time where you just look back and you're like, wow?
just I remember the first time I actually got my first paycheck, and I'd been living with my dad, and so he got all my mail and I was still getting paid into my New Zealand account. And I went into Celine. It was when that was really in its moment. I mean, it still is now, but I walked in there. I think the bag, I want to say it was this beautiful big handbag. It was huge, and I just got my first paycheck. I'm pretty sure I spent the whole paycheck on it. Maybe it was €2,500. I walked in, bought it. Was hot. I've never bought anything designer in my life. This is insane.
How old were you?
23.
Oh my God.
23, 24. And walked out because you didn't have any, but I didn't pay for food, anything, and then walked out. A couple of weeks later, my credit card statement got sent home. My dad used to open my mail and scan it to me, and he never swore. And he rang me, he said, "Hi darling, how are you going?" I said, "Yes, I'm good." He's really English. He said, and what have you been doing? And I said, we're in Saint Tropez and woo! Yeah, and I said that the owners are amazing, and he said, yes. He said, "Polly, you might be working for billionaires, sweetheart, but you aren't one." And he said, "What the fuck is Celine?" I remember he said Celine.
Celine.
And I was like, oh, yeah, about bag. And so I was like, whoa, okay, I'm in trouble.
The calm demeanor. How have you been? Yeah. And what the fuck is Celine?
Yeah, I was like, I'm so sorry, in New Zealand dollars, that's a lot of money. But we just used to stay in outrageous hotels, and I just didn't think about money. It was just it was really fun. And then coming home, I mean, I did save a bit of money because.
Did you get paid a base and then tips? Or
no,
was it all
so
tips?
I wasn't on a tip boat. I was on a charter boat, so I was privately owned. We had 2 decent tips because our boss was on for a long period of time towards the end. Yeah, and I guess as a cruise chef, you get paid pretty well. It was the best spot. I wouldn't have stayed for 3 years if I didn't like it. But I did come home with a little bit of savings. Unfortunately, when I came home, my dad then passed away. So I took 6 months off doing anything, working, and then I just ate through that money. And then with real estate, it was interesting. The other day, I actually was going through my financial statements of my year-end things, and I looked at one of the years where I earned the most money I've ever earned in my life, and it was from real estate and Miss Polly's Kitchen combined. And I thought to myself, when I was earning that money, I don't even really think I felt that different. I didn't save much. I did everything that I wanted to do, and I traveled and all of these things, but I don't know if
you enjoyed.
If I realized, probably at the time, because I was younger and a little bit more naive, how stupid I was that I didn't do certain things. And I've got a house, and I'm really fortunate for that. And I've done work to the house, and so I do have to obviously give myself a bit of credit there. But yeah, and so my money health, it's I've grown up in an environment where, with my dad, we were really, we were really fortunate. But I also, I come from a split family. I've very much got the mindset of I will never, ever, ever rely on a man. And I think sometimes it's to my own detriment because I'm not vulnerable and I don't let my guard down, and I'm not good at sort of asking for help. I think, it's I've always want to be financially secure because you just never know what's around the corner. So I guess I sort of have regrets with some financial things, but I think it's lessons, and I've got a drive that, it's because I never want to be in a position where I'm 50 and I get left, with nothing, and I don't have a savings plan or anything like that. And so now I am looking at more than ever for the next 25 years, okay, what do I do? What does my thing look like? Because it's really important to me. And interestingly enough, I think with money, I feel like I've had different money lessons my whole life. When I was 18, I got my first job, and it was full-time, and my dad we'd had to sell our house years and years prior to that. And I remember he asked if I'd get a mortgage with him. And at 18, I was like, that's pretty cool. And so I helped my dad get a mortgage on our family home. And I didn't really think much of it at the time because I was living there anyway, and I was going to be paying board. And I feel like now that taught me, I don't know, I guess little things like that. And I've got a lot of respect for my dad. And I think having to, probably for him to be vulnerable and to have to ask for that at the time, I guess I didn't realize the significance of it until I'm sort of later in life and now I'm here.
That's a huge commitment, like a huge, not a huge ask from your dad to, like you said, to be vulnerable and ask his daughter to be on the mortgage as well. But also like for you probably not to understand the implications if that did go south.
And I didn't even, sorry, I should caveat that. I didn't actually pay, like I paid bought like $150, but he just, because he was retired, he was old. He needed someone with an income to get that next level of mortgage approval. So I never realized it at the time what that kind of meant. And when he was dying, interestingly enough, I will never forget this conversation. I said, Dad, what do you want to do? If you could do anything in the world, and this was maybe a month out from him passing away, and he said, Paul, I've been everywhere in the world. He loves skiing. I've skied everywhere. He said, I've done everything with my 2 girls, my sister and I. And he said, but for all the money in the world, he said, all I want is to be here like with you girls. And I think it's really significant to sort of, we strive, to be financially free and successful. But it's like, I think at the end of the day, you've got your friends, your family, your health, and it's kind of it. So it's like, be smart, but also like, fuck, do you really want to work till you're 60 and then go, shit?
Do you think that you balance that out well? Because like I know you and you're so incredibly driven, which is amazing. But you are very money orientated, as I am, and it's just, there's times when I seriously have to be like, is this all worth it? Like it's like.
Totally. I think it's bad. I think that's what I mean. It's to my own detriment that I'm like, holy shit, sister, like pump the brake. Like you never, if Miss Polly's kitchen turns to shit, I was a really good PA when I was younger. I could go and get a job. Well, hopefully someone would let me be the PA, but I could get a job
AI
somewhere.
Now, babe,
I could.
That's redundant.
I could go, and work in a restaurant and learn. I think I need to remember you're never going to be left in the shit. Like so it's like I just.
Also, your skills are your assets that you can make money on too, and that no one can ever take those away from you.
And I remember someone saying that someone in our community was that they were going through a divorce and they were like, you know what, they can take all my money, all my assets, but what they can't take is my knowledge and my experience. And that was what got them through. They were like working, they had 2 kids and they just went back to work and they just worked and built their wealth up. Who was that? Oh, she got scammed. That's right.
I listened to that podcast.
That was horrible. And she was like, you know what? All I could think of was like, I've got my biggest asset is my knowledge. I need to get out there and start earning again. And it was so true. It's like, that's one thing people can't take away from you. And I think that's definitely what you've got is skills and drive and knowledge and
But then how do we curb that? Because like we're all sitting here saying like we know that it's not all about money. While it's really important to stand on your own 2 feet and while it's so important to be able to, have money to do the things and have the experiences you want. But life at the end of the day is about friends and family. How, I don't know, I feel like it's so easy to dip into, what matters is people and family and time. But I so quickly get pulled into.
Couldn't agree more. But I think, so I'm working with this person at the moment about my financial health.
Is it Victoria Harris? Or?
We'd be terrible for each other.
You'd be like, so.
Do I buy the Celine?
Or just come to Europe. Come visit me, please.
Just, honestly, and like just stay for 3 months.
You can just pay me in Celine bags. It's
cut the handle off and sell it. It's like writing down. Like I had to recently think to myself, okay, what does it mean? Like what does financial freedom look like? And for me, it's like holidaying or not necessarily holidaying. Going overseas for me is what gets me out of bed in the morning. It's like, it sounds so lame. People are like, I love to travel. Like that's where I'm like in my element. And it's because you experience things, you learn. And it's just like, for me, I'm like, that is what life is. So if I can have enough money every year that I can do a big trip and then I can do some small trips, like that to me,
that's what you value.
That's what I value. So it's like, do I want to buy a beach house? Sure, maybe one day, but like that would be epic. But right now, like that's not something I'd be saving for, because for me, it's like, I just need to make sure that I'm earning enough that is like my dream, to just be able to travel a little bit. And so I think it's like realizing at what point is enough going to be enough, because then you buy the beach house, then you want the boat, then you want the, it's like, it's like, what's next? And we are in a society where there is a lot of, I feel like, and
pressure.
And I think looking around at people money doesn't, it helps. Like, my God, does it help? But it really doesn't.
Makes you look really good too.
Make you happy. And it's, you can say that because obviously money problems are the worst problems in the world. And I've got people around me and I know they're in really bad positions and it's really tough. But I also think there's people around us in really financially amazing positions. And I look at their lives and I'm like, don't envy that.
Money can make you more happy. Like if you can't afford a place to live and then you have money and now you can, but I don't think it doesn't bring you happiness. It's not a destination. And I think one thing, to answer your question, Soph, I think, and that's one thing that I want to do is almost have a figure of, okay, when I achieve this figure, then I'll be fine, and it's like having, whether it's a retirement figure, whether it's an overall net worth figure, of like, because you're right, otherwise the goalpost keeps moving and you're never going to be
you
content.
have to put a line in the sand, otherwise it's just always striving for more. But I think what you said about the idea of travel, it's like, because you now know that is what brings you happiness and that's the baseline, you'll never stretch yourself to go and buy a beach house if it means you're forfeiting that. And I think that's really important, right? Because it's like, yes, what's the big number in terms of the end destination, but it's also, what is your yearly amount that you need that allows you to do the things you enjoy?
And have a happy and healthy and fulfilled life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, things like going out for dinner. I've definitely cut back considerably. Like, I used to go out for dinner like it was changing your knickers. Like, seriously. And I'd say, oh, it's my inspiration. It is still my inspiration to try different things. But like I would,
now it's like I go to Europe for inspiration.
Or I go out for dinner, but it's more of a treat. It's like, I remember my mum saying to me, like, Jesus Christ, Polly, you're spending a lot of money and a lot of people wouldn't go out, once every 2 weeks for a nice meal or once, so you need to actually and now I put more value on it because I don't earn what I used to. So when I do go out for a meal, I really appreciate it. It's not just, oh, we're going out for dinner and I'm wearing 15 cocktails and, it's like my whole, but I guess it's also growing up and maturing. But I do think going back to that whole money thing, like having a figure, I also have this mentality where, yes, at the moment I'm working towards like, what does a retirement look like? But nothing's guaranteed either. So it's like to make sure that you don't, I guess, live so like,
frugally.
Don't do the fun things because you're like, oh, I've got to save for 60. Like 60 is not guaranteed. 70, so it's kind of also, well, I think that fine balance, which I guess we're all looking for forever.
I think if you have the bare minimum sorted in terms of, what your living expenses are, you understand those numbers, the amount that you can spend on fun things like your trips to Europe or whatever it is that you value, and then you are investing a percentage, whatever is manageable for you, whether that's 10%, 20, whatever you want to be doing. I think as long as you have a plan, you eliminate that low level of financial anxiety of I'm not doing anything or I'm not being conscious about where and how my money's being spent. That's enough. When you've got that, it's like, cool. And yes, you can always increase things and have more, but for me, that's been such a game changer in that I know I'm looking after my future. I'm not sacrificing now. But I'm also aware that I'm not in the same position as a lot of my friends. I can't go and buy a second house or a boat or I might never get there, but it's being very aware of what your value set is, what you want to spend your money on, and also looking after your future, whether that's you have 5 or 10 or 500 years to live. It's just like, I think when you bury your head in the sand and you've no idea and you spend, the anxiety you have it almost doesn't outweigh the joy you get from spending.
The flip side of that as well, if you are so focused on save, and you're not actually living life either, I think either way, if you swing the pendulum too far, either way is really detrimental.
I guess it is just having that, knowing what will keep the lights on and give you a little bit of fun and luxury is the dream goal. Because if you've got that, and then you can be putting a bit of money into the savings and emergency fund, then happy days. And don't do stupid shit on Sharesies like I have, and you'll be fine.
So this is what I wanted to get into.
Oh no!
So you've got your property, you've got Miss Polly's Kitchen, which is a growing business. What else do you invest in?
Oh, Paul, no! What happened?
So when I was at Bailey's, all the boys in our Tuesday meetings, men, I should call them men. used to talk about, like, you know, we'd get to the meeting and there'd sort of be some investment chat about what's happening in the stock market. And I didn't take much notice of it. And then one day I was like, this is shit. Like, I really need to get a Sharesies account.
What made you take interest?
Well, you guys had started, and so I was listening to you guys in it, and but also, you know, like, you should give me a compliment. But they were talking about it, and it was sort of like, well, you like also just interest. I was like, you know, the stock market, like, you know, going back to my dad, he used to like trade in the stock market, and it went. There were times it went terribly for him, like lost a lot. And everything, you know, so it's like, I think it's always been there, I've been interested in it, but I'm like, I'm not going to sit and read the Financial Times. I'm not going to do this. So I just thought I'll start doing a bit at drip feeding money, and then I'll just listen to the boys and do what they do. Well, one day I got a call, and I still to this day, I'm like, how did you get my number? Who did you, it was so weird. I had this call from this guy from Stockholm. Hi, Polly. I've got this company. I should not remember his voice, but anyway, I've got this company. It's about to IPO. It's called Rivian. Amazon's put like billions into it. And I was like, holy shit. And I'm like, what is IPO? Looking at it, and I'm like, okay, cool. Anyway, and then I'm like, and he's like, it's going to be bigger than Tesla. It's huge. And I was like, oh my God, like I have got the mother. And then I got a bit weirded out that I was like, why are you calling me? And I was like, I've actually got to go. I've got a call coming through. Hung up, call Vic Harris. I'm like, hi babe, I've got this new stock. Anyway, and she's like, I haven't heard of it. And I was like, it's massive. Like it's huge. It's about to IPO. And like, I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about. Vic's like, I'd be really, really careful. And then like 2 weeks later, because it was IPOing maybe a month something, Vic rang me and she's like, hey, the thing just came across, like I see what it is. Pole, be really careful. Like don't do anything stupid. And I'm like, whatever. I put $5,000 into Rivian at the time. When it IPO'd, it was $154 a share. Then it started to drop, and the boys were like, I always remember at work, they're like, when it drops, like double down. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to double down. So I doubled down, bought more. Since that day, it is now worth, I'm pretty sure I want to say maybe $14 a stock. So my Sharesies portfolio with Rivian is at negative 89%. And I have about $400 sitting in that stock from what I put in.
Oh,
what is it? Oh, 11, even better. Woo!
So it's gone from close to $140 down to 11, and that's in about 4 years. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
Paul,
good.
that's such a shit-thirsty
It was
investment.
shit. And then there's another one.
Who the hell's the guy at Stockholm?
I'm like, who
whatever,
are you? And why did you punk me?
Also, why did the boys not help? I feel
I
like
think because one of them invested in it too at
okay.
work. No, I don't. Anyway,
I mean, the green light, the silver lining here, like it is. It's Amazon backed. Like that in itself would have got quite a few people over the line. Like great sales guy from Stockholm,
really
wherever
good.
he's from.
Got me good. And then there was another company called Bet Makers. I put money into that because the boys were doing it. It tanked. I put a little bit more on New Year's Day. This is going back about 4 years. It's still that's another one that's just I'm at negative minus 86% on a good day in my shares portfolio. But then I've got really good things at the moment. Like recently I have been investing drips and drabs. Like I've got a couple of girlfriends that we message, you know, at least every week to talk about, you know, oh, how's this doing? What's that doing? And the most successful one for me to date is Rocket Lab. I invested in that like 4 or 5 years ago.
They just had a result recently as well.
Insane. At one point it was up 236% on what I'd put in. I was like, I opened my Sharesies because I stopped looking at my Sharesies for years.
Because it was just too depressing.
And then I opened it one day and I was like, there's a glitch in the system. Like what is going on? And then I looked at Rocket Lab. And then I've been drip feeding money into the US 500. And since 2022 maybe, must be then, that's been really, really just steady and strong. So that's been a really good one. But then recently, like I talked to a friend and she was like, there's this, what's it called? Nivea. Anyway, something.
NVIDIA?
Yeah, NVIDIA just put money into it. And so I bought in. That's already down 39%. I'm like, when I just do dumb shit, sometimes I'm like.
But I think this is like.
But not with that much money.
Best
not
example.
With deposits.
Yeah. I've learned my lesson.
200, not 200,000.
I think this is a really good lesson in diversification.
And also thank you for sharing that, because seriously, I think there's a lot of people that have had that experience and they're too embarrassed to talk about it. Then they're put off investing and they never do it again. And that's really shit, because it means you're
and the
missing
fact
out.
you weren't put off either. You were like, I want to make my money back. I want to invest in something else. So.
I've asked Vic many times. Like, I don't like looking at things in arrears. Like, for me, every time I have my share portfolio and it's down, it gives me a bit of an ick. But I said to Vic, should I just sell out? Like, do I just count my, like, what is it? It's not cut my losses and just let it go. And Vic was like, no, like, do not. I
was like, maybe just don't add to it.
Kind of can't bottom out any more than it has. So just leave it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's, and it's funny. You know, now it's not funny, but I'm like,
but you've got Rocket Lab, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is a great reason why you need to diversify, because you could have put all your money in Rocket Lab and done fantastically well, but the chances of that really, really low. You're going to have some plonkers. You're going to have some Rivians and some bet makers and them not do so well. But it's like, when you have the ones that do well, it just makes the world of difference.
Do we think the bet maker's name would have been enough to put you
also,
off?
it's something to do.
It's not
do you know the
betting, is
funniest
it?
thing? If you asked me, if you went through my share portfolio right now and asked me what half of the companies, what they do, I'm like, I don't know, just someone to do it.
And I think that's also
Polly, we're going to have to take this offline.
I know. So now I'm just all about the US 500, the ETFs, those kind of safe things, more so if I'm doing something drastic.
So what have we learnt from that poll?
Be smart, listen to the curve. No, don't be. I'm very
impulsive.
I can be super impulsive, and now that I'm, not earning what I was, I'm much more aware of where I want to be and not doing dumb things. But I also think, yes, taking risks, but don't take them in a stupid way. But also just research. And
you can listen to a tip that someone gives you and you can be like, cool, thank you, and go away and be like, oh, actually.
You go and put it in the investing club and you ask Vic, go do some research on this, please.
Yeah,
and I should have listened to Vic when I said, hey, I know you can never give me advice, because that's the annoying thing. And you'd think that being friends with Vic Harris would be like, hey, we've given this. She's like, I just can't really say it. I'm like, just give me the tip.
But I think now that would be different, right? Because I think since you first were dabbling in those, like, I think Vic's come a long way in terms of being able to also explain things differently. Whereas at the time she probably felt like saying anything was going to get her in trouble. And I think now we've realised that
I'd rather save my friends some money. But also I think don't listen to anyone that calls you from a random number and gives you a stock tip, because
and I should have listened to you because you said don't do it.
Yeah. The Curve Investing Club is the world's first digital investing club for women to build their wealth. It's a place where industry experts like myself and beginners can really, really join forces to share knowledge, swap ideas, and make money through investing. So if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are aware that saving alone, unfortunately, can't make you a millionaire, but investing definitely could. So we wholeheartedly believe in the power of community and that the best investment ideas come when we collaborate and learn with each other. So bring your friends, your mum, even strangers on the street if you want. There really is strength in numbers, and we're so excited to create a community that's just for you.
Talking about like beyond investing and just money in general, you've also had a lot of learnings within relationships and have probably changed your perspective on how you approach money and love over the years with different people that you've been in relationship with. If you could go back in time and talk to younger Polly, who was in love, say at 24, and not thinking about the idea that being in love or in a relationship is kind of like being in business with someone, what would some of those things that you would have said to her to be aware of or to think about in advance?
Yeah, I would say, and my lawyer made a really good point, that if you meet someone and you're in the honeymoon period and you're so in love, like your heart is just bursting, like you're like, oh my, I would do anything for you. I'd die for you. It's been 2 weeks. Now what I've learned is if you own an asset or if you both have assets, whatever it is, if you earn different things, if you go into a relationship and you have something, it should never be an issue from either party to just go in, if you're moving in together, to say, hey, like, let's just get this sorted, and what's mine is mine at the moment and what's yours is yours, or maybe depending how you want to do it, and you protect the shit out of that. And you hope like hell, this my lawyer said to me, that you do these agreements, you put it in the bottom drawer and you never have to look at it again, because that means you've had a really successful relationship. And he said what you write in those things as well is when you're in a sound mind and you love someone, of what is equal and what is fair. And this is obviously more so as you get older, and even I'm sure, you know, when you're 18, you're not, you can have my bike.
Yeah. You can have the front wheel, I'll have the back.
Yeah, I think there is a point, and I obviously don't have kids, so I know that things change, but I just think as much as you love someone, that things can go wrong, and no one is ill, you know, no one's going into a relationship with bad intentions, but things, you know, I just think you have to really protect, and if you worked your ass off and you've earned your money or whatever it is, maybe it's different if it's inheritance and things, and those are protected in different ways, but you just have to protect yourself. And I think it goes for men and women, and it is a shit conversation to have with someone like, hey, we're moving in, by the way.
How did you, because you've had one relationship where you learned a lot from, and then now you're going into a, not new anymore, but another relationship where you seem like you're a lot more mature and you're open to having those conversations. How did you have those conversations? Like, how did you make that not such a big deal and something that you both need to do?
Well, I think I was just really open about it from the get-go, but I also think sometimes it's to my own detriment. Like, we live in essentially what is my house, and I'm so conscious that, you know, it's my boyfriend very much is like, babe, it's your house, you know, and I can't expect him to do certain things. There's a point now where it's probably like, hey, maybe I should sell the house and get something together, so it feels like you're more of a team.
That's a really good point, because you can change it.
Yeah, you can change it. I think, like, and I don't want it to feel like that, like, oh, it's Polly's house. Like, I'm always like, no, our house, and I always say it. But I think I've got a bit of a, as I said, I'm like, I don't want to rely on anyone. So that I think can also probably be quite difficult dating me, because I'm like, I'll do this, and you know, and like we've got a joint account for menial stuff like the bills and food shopping, but it's like the thought of like pulling everything together, it makes me feel a bit, I'm like, ugh.
Do you naturally align, both of you, in terms of your spending and saving, or have there been any difficult conversations when it comes to that?
He loves buying lots of dresses as well, right?
And Celine
he
bags?
actually, no, to
Gucci
be fair,
shoes.
it's actually not funny. His shopping, I went into his wardrobe the other day, because we've got obviously the room you sleep in, and then one of the spare rooms is where I call it the man cave, and that's where his wardrobe. And I was like, dude, there is the most. I'm like, what is going on? And I've never seen you wear half these clothes. Like, throw them out, give them away, sell them. What are you doing? So he spends money on clothes, but not, obviously not. They don't have the same upkeep and maintenance. But I feel like at the moment, like, I'm really making all these moves to go and get like financial help, do things differently. And obviously that rubs off on, you know, your partner, because then I think now he's like, yeah, shit, you know, we need to get our act together.
But I think that that's a really good point in itself, is like, you have to be at a stage where you're ready and open to look at your shit, because it's really confronting to think about. I mean, for me, to think about the fact that I'm 33 and up until my 33rd year, I was reckless and ridiculous with my money. Sometimes I find it just like the shame that I spiral down of like, how have I got to this point? And only now I'm putting this stuff in place. It's really like, can be quite confronting, but when you get, that's also not helpful to be like, wow, I've done this. It's like, no, it's really brilliant that I've turned things around. And I definitely think of it in a positive way. But I guess my point in mentioning that is that when you get to a place where you're like, right, I need to look at this, or I need to sort this out, or I'm going to spend some time looking at my money habits like you are, which is amazing. There's an emotional switch that happens. And I think once you've stepped through that door, there's no going back. You're not going to go and revert back to, like, you might have like a few blowout months where you know, have, because you're not going to be perfect straight away, and you will probably never be. But once you've sort of like illuminated the issues, you're aware of them, you've learned, you can kind of move through. And I think when you're around people, like, you're doing that. So inadvertently, he is also doing the same. I think that it just takes people there at different stages. Someone might be 21 when they do that. Someone might be 48.
Yeah.
Like it's just when you then do that, you start living within your means in a completely different way.
Totally. It's talking about you both. I've met a lot of younger girls through work and things like that who listen to your podcast and they're in their early 20s and they're talking about what they invest in. And I'm like, oh, that blows my mind. Imagine if I was like, you can't think like that, but I'm like, it's incredible that they're doing that. But it's like, I can't look back on the last 10 years and go, I literally pissed money away and I don't have a lot to show for it. But I'm like, you had fun.
Yeah.
We're also still young. We've still got so much time ahead of us to like do things differently. And
I'm
I think
23, by the way.
Yeah. I've just turned 19.
I'm young, honey.
I feel like there's so many things we could speak to you about. And like, you know, do you want to do the honor of the final question, Vic?
Yeah. What can we expect? Like, what's next for Miss Polly's Kitchen? Like, what is your grand plans for that? Like, what would be your 5-year goal, financially or otherwise?
YouTube, subscribe. Like, no, I went into his business with him the other day. He said, unless you want to bring out a product, which I've thought about doing, he said, right now, what you need to do, if you being on YouTube is where you want to be, that's what you've got to do to grow, to get a bigger following, to go, like, I want to go international. I really want to grow in Australia to start, and then I want to get bigger and bigger and bigger. My dream is to be, I guess, like I always used to talk about a TV show, but I think, you know, that's evolving. I think having a YouTube thing where it's me, like I love cooking and it's my passion and I love food, but I'm not the best chef. I'm not a formally trained chef or anything like that. So I want to make it, I guess it is more of the personality thing. I want to travel. I want to be a trusted person that when I'm traveling around, it's like, where did Polly eat? What did she do? Because that's, I spend so much time researching where I'm going, what I'm doing, restaurants, like cheap eats, this, that, everything out, like to curate a trip. So that for me in 5 years, like if I could be that person that was super trusted and had these amazing like travel, cooking with people in different countries.
I've been on holiday with you, and honestly, the restaurants that Paul chooses, it's like,
I'm like,
you just sit back, relax, and just follow the itinerary, and it's fantastic.
And I'll order.
Yeah.
So I think that, products, yes, but I think for now it's like, just work with what I've got in front of me.
And any personal achievements you want to achieve in the next 5 years, 9 months?
Yeah, look, we don't know. Is it I don't know what it is yet, but yeah, there is.
But we're sure it's a baby.
There is a baby. There's a dinosaur in my belly. Yeah, so look, I'm going to become a mum. So yeah, my
so happy for you.
So excited.
So exciting.
So I think leaning into the help and not being that power woman, if I can do it all, I'm going to have to be really vulnerable and let my guard down. So I think that's exciting.
And also, back to the point of like coming to a place where you have that shift or that emotional moment of like, I need to sort my finances out. Obviously for you, it was the idea of being a mum, right? It's like, okay, I don't want to pass the same stuff on, and also I have someone else I have to pay for now. That makes sense.
I think that if I'm honest, that's why I saw the business person at the start of the year, and that was my biggest shift. I'm like, okay, sweet pea, it ain't just you anymore.
And she can inherit the Celine bag.
He?
I don't know.
I mean, anyone would be keen on a Celine bag, I think.
And all the rest. Oh no, so it's exciting. Yeah. So I think, look, the big things, maybe I'll get into boob to food, baby food. No, Miss Polly's Kitchen will stay Miss Polly's Kitchen, and there might be some new offshoots of baby
Little Polly's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Little Polly's Kitchen's a great idea.
Maybe I'll call he, she, Polly,
Yeah.
Oh my
Little
God.
baby Polly.
Oh, Paul, I'm so
very
excited
happy for you. Yeah.
Also,
Congrats.
like the idea of you being a YouTube travel vlogger, like I see it. I really see it.
Yeah. I just have to get over the fact that you hold the camera up like this and you walk it, because
You don't have to do that. Hives. Most people just put their computer in front of them and speak straight to their computer.
Yeah.
I mean, we did a TikTok in a restaurant last night.
It was so embarrassing.
And we had to do quite a few takes with the flash on. So don't worry.
Yeah. You just have to stop giving a shit.
Have to stop
and
giving
that's the
a
other
shit.
thing. Anyway, thank you so much for having me.
Oh,
No,
thank you
thanks,
so
Paul.
much. I mean, I feel like I've cried several times in this chat. Like it's felt really. No, I'm not getting my period.
Sorry, I know.
I'm not.
Keeps making.
You're not. This is Polly's definitely not. Yeah. No, thanks, Paul. That was,
Yeah, we love you. We're proud of you.
Blast to chat. Thank you so much for listening to Raising the Curve. These conversations are designed to teach you everything you need to know to be better with your money, from saving to investing to talking with your friends about your salaries, all of that stuff.
And if you like what you heard, we would love if you could please hit subscribe wherever you're listening and leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about the episode.
And it only takes 1 second and it would really make our week, our month, our year.
Yeah.
So please do it. Okay. Love you. Bye.
Okay, quickly, The Curve was created to empower and educate you about investing, but we are not financial advisors.
Our platform exists for educational purposes only, and it doesn't provide personalized investing advice for your individual needs and should not be relied upon to make an investment or financial decision.
And always remember to do your own research before making any investment or financial decision.
We're here for any knowledge and support you need, but the final call is always yours.
And thanks for being here.
You got this.
Yeah, we know you got this.